Michelle Jingers alongside Anson Carter, and we now welcome in Carolina Hurricanes play-by-play, Tripp Tracy. Tripp, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, Michelle. Good to see your face, and great to be with you, and to see my buddy Anson's face as well.
Tripper, you know it's playoff time. You see the Stanley Cup over your shoulder. Love seeing Lord Stanley.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. The team in 2006 couldn't have won it without me. You know, I still just, Michelle, I'm just getting over the nightmares my first year broadcasting when Dance and Anson came into Greensboro after Marty Jelena. 2-2 series, right, Anson? Anson was playing for the Bruins. Jelena had an open net, you know, swing game 5 in overtime. He fanned on it. The great Marty Jelena, and Anson delivered the goods in Boston, then ended it in 6. So my dear friend Anson, thank God he was a Hurricane at one point in time. I'm still having nightmares about it.
We've got a lot of play on that clip on this show. Trust me.
Yeah, we've had a few. All right, let's talk about this series going on right now between Carolina and the Bruins. Biggest news, obviously, coming out of Game 3, SVECHNIKOV with a very awkward fall at the end there. Any update on him ahead of Game 4?
Well, I know Michelle, he's not going to be available for Game 4. I'm hearing rumblings. I'm actually going to talk to fellow Michigan Stater like Anson, Rod Brindamore, right after I get off with you guys, and to get the update from the horse's mouth from Rod. Certainly would be. I don't expect him at all in this series, even if it goes 7. But there's no doubt in my mind, for such an ultra popular teammate. He won the Steve Chason Award, which is voted on dedication to the game, to his teammates. It's voted on by his teammates. He's the youngest person by far to ever win it. So you're hoping, if you're a Carolina fan, that guys are going to galvanize around Andre's injury. And it was in Game 3 of the first round against Washington last year that he had that fight with Ovechkin and was lost for the rest of the series. And Carolina, of course, won in 7. So can they do the same thing without Andre to beat this Boston Bruins team?
Tuukka Rask, that was a big story entering Game 3. Obviously, he opts out of the playoffs and bubble life, just citing that he wants to be with his family, and some things are more important than hockey. Obviously, completely understandable considering the realities of what bubble life is, and, maybe getting there and realizing, look, this is just too much, being away from the people that I love for this long. Obviously, the NHL has been sensitive to players' mental health surrounding the decision to opt out, but some people not so understanding. Tuukka's taken a lot of flack for this. Curious to get both of your reactions and just how you think this all plays out. Tripp, let's start with you.
Okay. For me, being a Carolina broadcaster, Michelle, my first thought and focus when I saw the news was, truthfully, how's this going to impact the Bruins on the ice and Carolina's ability to win Game 3 at the time? And rigorous honesty, it scared me. It scared me because, Jaro HALAK has been, a consummate professional, but he's been a money goaltender throughout his entire career. I mean, he stood on his head years ago and allowed the Montreal Canadiens to, I believe, beat the President's Trophy winning Washington Capitals at the time. He seems to have always played well in the clutch, including for Slovakia when there's been Olympic or any type of international competition. So it scared me because I said to myself, I hope the guys in the Hurricanes dressing room don't take a breath, which would be a natural thing to do. And HALAK has also been a very popular teammate. So I expected Boston to rally around him, which they absolutely did. Beyond that, I sort of stay in my lane. I've never really gotten to know Tuukka that well over the years. I certainly admire everything that he's done on the ice as a former goaltender in what has been a terrific career. I probably shouldn't even speculate beyond that, other than to say he did an interview with NBC, I think with Catherine Tappan, like early in the round robin. And I was watching on television. I said to myself, "Why, he doesn't seem that comfortable there." I remember saying that to myself as I was watching the interview. Circumstances, from if I read that correctly, and what ultimately led to him opting out. I'm just going to leave it at, I was trying to figure out how the Hurricanes can win this series. And truthfully, HALAK coming in before Game 3 scared me, and it was validated in the game.
Yeah, Tripper, I saw the same exact thing, and I was wondering where his head was going to be at. And then he didn't say anything after game 1. And after game 2, he said, it doesn't really feel like playoff hockey. And I said to myself, well, how come he didn't say this after the first game when they won? You know, it sounded like sour grapes to me. But I was asked the exact same question. And my take on it is just this. Like, you look around us, look at the world that we're living in. I know a lot of good people. A lot of my good friends have been laid off from their jobs. You know, we're going through a global pandemic. People are dying right now. And guys are forced to be in a bubble. And the one thing fans at home forget when they see guys laying it online, blocking shots to their faces, losing chicklets, is NHL players, pandemic or not, aren't getting paid during these times. Mm-hmm. So this reinforced the fact that I think this will be the hardest Stanley Cup championship to win because of all of those factors. Like, Tuukka was there. He tried, and it was too much for him. And I don't fault him for that. Go and be with your family. That's what's most important. But the guys that are there, like, it's not an easy thing to do. Like, we see them playing and competing, but it's not an easy thing to do, to be away from your family for just a long period of time.
In your opinion, what are the biggest keys for Carolina as they try to rebound in game 4?
Well, I think that when I look at it, Michelle, I was just thinking about my game keys, and Anson, we'd laugh. I mean, who are we kidding? Because it's a sponsored element on our broadcast. I mean, it should be the same every night. It should be exactly the same, but you feel like you got to change it up. The bottom line is that Carolina is going to have to be heavier and more urgent on their back end to win. I think that there's a lot more to give in the series from that standpoint, and that's from top to bottom. And I'll just pick a guy like, I mean, Dougie Hamilton comes back and, I mean, scripted, scores that howitzer of goal that's a game winner in game 2. You know, if Dougie digs in and, you know, across the board, Slavin, elite defenseman, Brady Shea, the former Ranger, Sammy Vodden, whoever's in, you know, in the lineup, they missed that heaviness from Joel Edmondson, who I don't think will play again tonight. So that's a big thing on my mind, Michelle. Secondly, they're going to have to be more impactful in a variety of different ways down the middle of the ice with their centerman. You know, Aho has had a coming out party. I still think there's more for him. Jordan Stahl has been flat out quiet. He'd be the first guy to say it. Vincent Trocheck it's come and gone, and Carolina's gotten beaten pretty decisively in the faceoff circle. And when I look at faceoffs, a lot of times I say, well, it's important, but it's not paramount. Hurricanes are getting beaten pretty good, and Boston's winning draws cleanly. So I think Carolina's, you know, top 3 centermen, no particular order, Aho, Stahl, Trocheck, they're going to have to find a way against Bergeron, against Krejci, against Coyle, because so far over the course of 3 games, the Bruins have had the edge. Those would be the 2 biggest things: heavier on the back end, and, you know, those centermen down the all-important middle of the ice have got to find a way to beat those Boston top 3 centermen.
Thank you so much, Tripp, for taking the time to stop by today and joining us. We loved having you.
Michelle, thanks for having me. Anson, love you. Hey, Anson, you got to come on my new podcast and dig in with me at some point. We're going to have to dig in deep, partner.
Shoot me a text. I'll be glad to come on, join on. But also, I got to say one thing. That Stanley Cup looks bigger in real life than it is, like, over your shoulder.
That's because I had a growth spurt last night, Ants. That's you know, I dug in, I had a growth spurt. And you got to come dig in. You got your John Deere green on. Okay, your perfect earth-moving color. Yeah, I grew like I was Jack and the Beanstalk last night.
It's a Spartan green, not John Deere green.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to tell Roddy that when I talk to him in a few minutes. Because, hey, let's not, you know, and I always let Roddy know his 1 year playing for MSU. You know who eliminated him in the Final Four?
Was it Harvard?
Yes.
I love it.
I love you, buddy. I love you. Michelle, great to be with you, Ants. I love you, buddy.
Yeah, anytime, Tripper.